This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Brand new F-35s, fighter jets. They're stealth. You can't see them. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
The nation, Waldorf Nation. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the show. I got a good one for you all today. A lot of stuff happening. A lot of interesting stuff. We got subpoenas. We got lots of them, apparently. I mean, well, I don't, but, you know, some people do.
Tallywhacker.
All right. Anyway, we've got that. Fun. We've got the story. We got Steve Bannon. We got the response to Steve Bannon being sentenced. We have somebody who was too crazy, even for Newsmax. You're going to love that story. You're going to love that story. We have parents raging over a mural. That's a fun story with somewhat of a decent ending. And then student loans. Challenge to the student loan, Biden's student loan relief plan. Get some news on that. So, not to give it away, but we'll dive into it. With that said, let's go to the first story of the day. We'll talk about Steve Bannon. All right. Hold on. Let me just find it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Oh, would you look at that? Steve Bannon going to prison. So now, on Friday, a court has ruled that Steve Bannon will be spending 4 months behind bars, as well as being ordered to pay a $6,500 fine for contempt of Congress. So now the Justice Department had actually recommended a harsher sentence of about 6 months and $200,000. However, and by the way, this is for defying a subpoena from the Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th riot. So now, when it comes to that sentence, it feels incredibly light. Let's be honest. Steve Bannon deserves a lot longer. But I've learned in this world that people don't really get what they deserve. Okay? So, you know. And by the way, not just for contempt of Congress. Again, that is what he is getting some jail time for. And by the way, he's already appealed this, and he will not be going immediately to prison during that appeal process. So, that said, let me show you Bannon after this decision was made. Here he is speaking.
The judge, today was my judgment day by the judge, and he stated for the appeal. We'll have a very vigorous appeals process. I've got a great legal team, and there'll be multiple areas of appeal. But, as that sign says right there, can we have the vote sign? On November 8th, on November 8th, there's going to have judgment on the illegitimate Biden regime, and quite frankly, Nancy Pelosi and the entire committee. And we know which way that's going. Either they've already been turfed out, like Liz Cheney, right, or have quit, like Kinzinger and other the Democrats, or they're about to be beaten like Luria and others, or they will lose their power and become a minority, and Nancy Pelosi and Chairman Thompson, all of it. On November 8th, the American people will raise judgment, and we will groom. The Biden administration ends on the evening of the 8th of November. And some other thing is that the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, will end up being the first Attorney General that's brought up on charges of impeachment, and he will be removed from office.
So, yeah, Bannon, not deterred, apparently, from saying dumb things, ridiculous things. But there it is. You can see him talking about, Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
Because, of course, that's all they focus on, by the way. All they focus on, all they talk about. Nancy Pelosi. Okay, whatever. Nobody cares. But there's two stories going on, okay? So now there's the one that's the right wing is telling, and then there's reality, as it often goes. So now Bannon says, I'm a victim. The deep state is coming for me. I'm just standing up for the truth. That's what I'm doing. I'm standing up for the truth. What truth? What truth? There is no truth. Not on your side. Now, the truth of the situation is that Bannon would rather go to jail because he knows ultimately that's going to help him in the end. Remember, this guy's a super ideologue, okay? The reason, again, he didn't give information to the January 6th committee. Why? Because he knows it would likely help their case against him and Trump and others get stronger. Look, Bannon was deeply involved in the plot to overthrow the government and install Donald Trump, the White House, as an illegitimate president. Yes, illegitimate president. He knew what was going to happen on January 6th. Again, he played a very significant role in it. I think Bannon's a goddamn traitor to the country. Absolutely. That's the reality. I think he's a traitor. I think he's a criminal. Yeah, well, look, I don't just think he's a criminal. He is a criminal. He's a convicted criminal. He stole money from his own supporters and went to prison for it, only to be pardoned by Donald Trump. So now, for Bannon, understand that he has a vested interest, or had a vested interest, in keeping Donald Trump in the White House. Why? Because it would have helped him keep him out of prison. But of course, there's more than just that. Look, he supports all of Donald Trump's racist policies, closing off the border, and basically only wanting white people in this country. He's a white supremacist, white nationalist, full-blown racist, and even coward. I'm going to go here to a quote. This is from Madeline Peltz, Deputy Director of Rapid Response at Media Matters. So she has the misfortune of watching Bannon's podcast all the time. Yikes. Now, here's what she wrote. After being given ample opportunities to share the truth about his role in the insurrection with the American people, he refused to do so. Up until the last minute, Bannon tried to weasel his way out of punishment and showed us that he's willing to do anything to protect and enrich himself. Of that, of course, we know. Now, he is reaping the consequences of his cowardice. Bannon has weaponized his audience time and time again and continues to push the same conspiracy theories that fueled an attempted coup of the U.S. government. Bannon still denies the 2020 election results and is at the center of right-wing efforts to place QAnon and other conspiracy theorists at critical choke points of American democracy, from his precinct project to poll workers and observers to school board members to the Secretary of State level. Look, there's a separate story, and I didn't get to it today, but poll workers, look, people at election sites are already calling in and saying these poll workers, supposed poll workers, they're harassing us. The poll watchers. Yeah, they're sitting here and they're filming me and my kids. That's one of the complaints. You know, when we're just trying to we're trying to vote. They're sitting there filming us or watching us. This is voter intimidation. This is voter harassment. Well, yes, that's their plan, because they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to vote. And so that's part of it. Now, she continues by saying, though Bannon was held responsible for his contempt today, well, I mean, on the charge of contempt, sure. But let's be clear. He has a contempt for our way of life. He has a contempt for our government. He has a contempt for multiculturalism. He has a contempt for diversity. He has a contempt for anyone who looks different than he does. He has not faced accountability for that contempt. And I wish he would. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But she says, the threat of Bannon's burn it all down approach continues to drive the Republican Party's descent into full-blown fascism. Again, true. Yes, the right wing has gone full authoritarian, but I think she's, again, to go back to where I was saying that he hasn't been held accountable, well, she's wrong on that. Again, Bannon has a lot to be held to account for. And ultimately, I think this jail sentence will help him, because he's going to galvanize more and more support from his, martyrhood and victimhood complex for something that he chose to do. Remember, he could have just complied and turned the document. Didn't the right-wingers always say this all the time? You should have just complied. You should have just followed the orders. You should have just followed the law. Well, they'll say that to a black person, or after a black person was murdered by a police officer, but they never do that when it comes to things like, oh, you're supposed to present documentation to the court or else you're going to get in trouble. Well, again, rules for, thee, but not for me. And that's just how they operate. And again, I don't know as far as anything else goes, if he's going to get away with it or not. But what does seem certain is that he's at least probably going to spend a few days in jail. But he belongs there for a lot longer. All right. Let's go to some MAGA whataboutism. This is always fun. Conservatives are furious that on Friday, Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison and a $6,500 fine for being in contempt of Congress. So now Bannon was found guilty of defying a subpoena to testify to the January 6th committee, and would also on his podcast regularly attack the committee while promoting baseless conspiracy theories. All right. Now, immediately following the sentencing, he had a lot of right-wingers on Twitter, and even Benny Johnson putting out a video like this.
We're looking forward to this applying to Barack Obama. We're looking forward to this applying to Eric Holder. We're looking forward to this applying to Merrick Garland. We're looking forward to this applying to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Contempt of Congress. Give us every record, every personal item, everything we have ever requested from your private communications. Doesn't matter if they are covered by executive privilege. Doesn't matter if you work in the White House. Doesn't matter if you're the president's son or you go to prison. I deeply look forward to the investigation into the Epstein flight logs. I deeply look forward to the investigation into what Hillary Clinton knew about Benghazi, what Hillary Clinton knew about the Steele dossier. I deeply look forward to those subpoenas. Well done. Way to set the standard up.
Sure, you want to look into the Epstein flight logs? I mean, I would. I'm very interested in that. But you might find someone on there, like, you know, rhymes with the name Ronald Trump. He's on there. I'm just saying. You might find some people that, you know, you might like on those logs. But anyway, okay. The other fun part about this, Hillary Clinton, Obama. We got to get back to the Obama. Look, here's the thing. Does he not know that Benghazi was investigated about 10 times? Yeah. 6 of them by Republican-controlled committees. There have been more investigations about Benghazi than I think anything. Like any other topic. And they still talk about it as if nobody's looked into it. You know, how dare they have never looked into Benghazi, like ever? Did you know Benghazi happened? It's Benghazi. It's Benghazi. Why didn't we look into Benghazi? We fucking looked into Benghazi. What's wrong with you? You like have this giant hole where your brain should be? Where your memory should be? Look, I got memory problems. All right? But at least I can remember Benghazi. And I can remember the numerous investigations into it and the time where Hillary Clinton was grilled for 11 hours by Republicans that just sat there and screamed at her for no reason. Oh, and you know what? This guy's already admitting that, you know what? As Republicans, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do bullshit investigation after bullshit investigation over no reason that's just going to waste time and money, and we're not going to get anything done. That's the whole plan. That's the whole point. They've given away the game. That's it. But there's more. Now you have members of the right wing bringing up Eric Holder and his involvement in Fast and Furious. So, not the crappy movies. Sorry, if you're a fan. But the ham-fisted attempt to trace guns to drug cartels. Stupid plan. Stupid plan. Nonetheless, here you had Darrell Issa. You remember Darrell Issa doing all these investigations, right? Well, he wanted to have Eric Holder held in contempt, and there was a contempt vote. So now, if you're going to compare this, though, to Steve Bannon, well, there's a big difference here. So let me give you the details about this, right? So for one, Eric Holder had, given about 7,600 pages of documents. That's the Department of Justice under Eric Holder. So they're like, we need these documents. Here's 7,600 documents. Have fun on Fast and Furious. So how many documents did Steve Bannon produce? Not really any. Yeah. Now, furthermore, Holder had actually offered to both provide the documents and give a briefing on them if Issa agreed doing so would satisfy the subpoena for the production of those very documents that not only Issa was asking for, but Eric Holder was saying, okay, I'm going to give you the documents. And so what was Darrell Issa's response? Nope, we don't want them. Oh, wait a minute, you asked for them. Yeah, but we don't actually want them. Right. Now, that said, did the DOJ put out a pretty poor response? Yes. At first, yes. They had actually put out a letter to Republican Chuck Grassley, which was immediately retracted because it was saying things that just weren't true. That said, ISO wanted the documents that went into the discussion of that letter, right? Holder said he was prepared to hand them over, but then you had President Obama using his executive privilege because the documents were that were requested were actually about discussions within the executive branch. Obama did have the authority to stop the handover of the documents. Again, that is executive privilege. He used executive privilege. And at that point, Holder was no longer able to hand those documents over. He wasn't allowed to. Republicans then decided, oh, now we're going to do a contempt of Congress vote. You are now in contempt, Eric Holder, for not giving over the documents that are protected by executive privilege. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't give you the documents. I can't do it. Now, the whole thing ended up being moot. And here's why. The Office of Inspector General, and by the way, this first went to a judge. Holder had testified in that the judge found no criminal actions on the part of Eric Holder or the Department of Justice. The OIG, the Office of Inspector General, released their own report, which included the documents that ISA was asking for anyway, and that the other judge ruled that that the executive privilege claim was moot because the OIG had included the documents as exhibits to its own report. So basically, the documents were already they were released anyway. And so after all of that, what did they find? That Holder didn't do anything wrong. The OIG report found Holder not criminally responsible for the mistakes that happened in Fast and Furious. And I'm going to go back here to a September 19, 2012 edition of the New York Times that was talking about this. The Justice Department's Inspector General issued a scathing critique of federal officials for their handling of the botched gun trafficking case known as Operation Fast and Furious, which is, I agree, was a dumb idea. But in doing so, they also essentially exonerated Attorney General Eric H. Holder Jr., whom many Republicans have blamed for the scandal. Inspector General Michael E. Horowitz laid primary blame on what he portrayed as a dysfunctional and poorly supervised groups of Arizona-based federal prosecutors. Oh, oops. And agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, describing them as permeated by a series of misguided strategies, tactics, errors in judgment, and management failures. That allowed a risky strategy to continue despite the danger to public safety. Yet, for more than a year, some Republicans and commentators on conservative news media outlets have floated theories that senior Obama officials must have approved the operation, deliberately fostering gun violence to provide a rationale for strengthening gun control laws, and that they were engaged in a cover-up. The Inspector General's investigation found no evidence to support those accusations. So, let's be clear. These are two very different situations. Republicans were using this as a political attack against not only Holder, whom I have no love for, as well as Obama. If you're trying to conflate these two situations as the same, well, you're being deeply dishonest when you're trying to say that they're the same thing. Now, Bannon, going back to him, look, again, I got to tell you, I do believe that Bannon wanted this outcome. Now, why would that be? Because going to jail for him, I think it only strengthens his position. He is a martyr. And right now, the Republicans, the right wing, is engaged in a massive amount of whataboutism. That's the reality. And by the way, speaking of reality, Steve Bannon, remember, he tried to overthrow our system of government. He was involved with fake electors for Trump, those people who were sworn to Trump that were there to supplant the real electors who will then go and put Donald Trump illegitimately in the White House. That is something that he did not earn. But of course, when you're talking about Steve Bannon, he knows all about theft. He stole millions from his own followers and spent it on himself. His partner, Brian Kolfage, is rotting in prison right now for it, while Bannon, he was supposed to, but got pardoned by Donald Trump. So, Rage all you want about this right wing. Come up with whatever whataboutism that you think you can come up with. Not the same thing. What you're doing is you're just supporting thieves and criminals. Party of law and order, my ass. All right. Moving on. Trump. Bannon will tell his followers, I went to jail for you. He's going to jail. He's going to jail because he broke. Exactly. You get it, Don. 100%. Former President Donald Trump is being ordered to testify the January 6th committee. So now, the Washington Post revealed earlier on Friday that the House committee investigating the January 6, 2020 attack in the U.S. Capitol has issued a subpoena for testimony and documents from former President Donald Trump. Now, this is according to a statement from Chairman Benny Thompson and Vice Chair Liz Cheney, quote, as demonstrated in our hearings, we have assembled overwhelming evidence, including from dozens of your former appointees and staff, that you personally orchestrated and oversaw a multi-part effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election and obstruct the peaceful transfer of power. The committee is seeking documents by November 4th and asking Trump to appear for a deposition beginning on or about November 14th. It's happening, folks. Uh-oh. Oh, this is going to be very, very, very interesting what happens from here on in. So my first thought about this, let's look at the timing, okay? Earlier today, Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison for what? For not giving over documents to the January 6th committee. So they had subpoenaed Bannon, and he told them pretty much in no uncertain terms to F off. And then they're throwing him in jail. So do I think that this is a message? Yes, I do. This is a message that the January 6th committee is not playing around anymore. And I think it's about time. And you think Donald Trump's going to testify to this? Well, I mean, I think he will. Now, he's going to whine and cry, of course. He's going to bitch and moan. But do you think at the end of the day, he's not going to testify? Of course he is. The alternative is going to jail. Remember, he's not president anymore. He doesn't have any of that authority. And so, yeah, if he does defy a subpoena, then yes, he would have to jail. Now, here's the thing. The other thing as well. Most of Trump's life has been him running scams and avoiding jail for those various scams. Again, he ran scam after scam after scam on the American people, tax fraud, stealing from a charity, stiffing his lawyers, stealing money from his donors, redirecting government money to his private businesses. Even after he's done all that, he's never seen even a little bit of accountability. But he might have actually bit off a little bit too much. Remember, he tried to scam his way back into a second term through a coup based on these election fraud conspiracy theories, these lies. And so, look, this guy's gotten away with a lot of things in his life. This might be the one thing that he doesn't get away with. And maybe I'm, getting a little too premature here. The Republican Party will absolutely do everything they can in their power to prevent him from being held accountable. Because remember, the Republican Party is no longer the party of law and order. No, they're a party of lawlessness, just as long as they're the ones who are breaking the law. If you're not one of them, they'll come after you, wouldn't believe. But when it comes to their own, like Trump, never, if they can help it, they'll never be held accountable. So, anyway. I wish they could have gotten to this much earlier. Time isn't on our side. Yeah, no, I agree with that. With the midterms coming so close and some possibly bad polling numbers. Yikes. So that is concerning, and you're absolutely right about that. To be concerned. All right, let's move on. It appears that even Newsmax has a line because one of their now former contributors crossed it. Mediaite is reporting that Newsmax TV has decided to sever their ties with contributor Laura Logan. For what? Remember, Laura Logan, if you're not familiar with her, she used to be, I guess, a respected CBS journalist until she went completely off the rails. I mean, into absolute insanity. So why did now here's the thing, Newsmax, they love insanity. So okay, why would they get rid of her then? Well, she went a little too far by invoking blood libel. So I'm going to tell you what happened during an interview with Eric Bolling on Wednesday. So she was asked by Eric about her faith in connection to the country's southern border. Which, again, let me just, before I get into that, so if you're a Christian, right, you profess to be of the Christian faith. Well, what did Jesus say about immigrants? Oh, right, treat the immigrant as if it's their own. That's what the Bible says, as if it's a member of your own family. Treat the immigrant well, take care of them. Give all your stuff to the poor and the needy. You know, that's the actual teachings of Jesus in the Bible. But now, today's modern Christians, oh, they hate that. They hate, oh, that Jesus, what a goddamn communist. Ironic. But here's some of the other wackadoo stuff that they believe. And this is what Laura Logan had said. She said, quote, God believes in sovereignty and national identity and the sanctity of family and all the things that we've lived with from the beginning of time. And he knows that the open border is Satan's way of taking control. Yes, that's right.
It's the devil, okay?
It's Satan's way of taking control of the world through all of these people who are his stooges and his servants. And they may think that they're going to become gods. That's what they tell us. You've all known historian Yuval Noah Harari and all the rest of them at the World Economic Forum. You know, the ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children, those are the people, right? They're not going to win. They're not going to win. Well, I mean, I guess she's right about they're not going to win because they don't actually exist. I mean, there's no people that are like that are drinking the blood of children. It's insane. They're dining on the blood of children. Okay, so look, there's a lot of kooky stuff in here. For one, really, is God a nationalist? Really? Did you know that the United States didn't actually exist when the Bible was written? So how can God be a nationalist? It doesn't make any sense. The open border. It's Satan's way of taking control of the world. It's kind of funny because I do remember, and not personally, of course, but history shows that America had a pretty open border when European settlers came here. And then they colonized and eventually founded the country after, doing a genocide on the natives. But you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe that is a good example of Satan.
It's the devil, okay? We're under attack.
Now, what this is, look, this is the insane rantings of somebody who is living in a fact-free world. They don't understand. They don't see reality. It doesn't exist to them. They're not living in the world that you and I are. And they go on TV and they're able to spout just absolute nonsense. Who's telling you they're going to be gods? Who? Who's honestly having a conversation about eating bugs? Really? Nobody's going to force you to eat bugs. Okay? Yeah, sure, there are, people that talk about like, oh, yeah, well, it might be a healthier source of, or a more available source of protein, if the world, like, gets destroyed. Okay? But, like I said, most people are not having these conversations, and certainly there's no conversations about forcing people to eat cockroaches. Okay? It's weirdo stuff. It's gobbledygook. But again, she goes full QAnon. And again, talking about the elites drinking the blood of children. Now, look, QAnon, you're familiar with the conspiracy theory. That's the elite pedophile cabal, and they're Satan worshiping, and they're drinking the blood of children. I know who are the elites? George Soros. That's the Rothschilds, the Democrats, the media, the Hollywood liberals. But at its core, QAnon is deeply anti-Semitic. It goes back to blood libel. And so they've been, people like Laura Logan pushing this incredibly damaging nonsense conspiracy theory. And as a result, well, she's been barred from Newsmax. That here's the statement that the network issued. This is according to the Daily Beast. Newsmax condemns in the strongest terms the reprehensible statements made by Laura Logan, and her views do not reflect our network. We have no plans to interview her again. So a couple of thoughts about this. I'm actually shocked that Newsmax has a bar. I didn't think they had one. But you know what? I'm always surprised when far-right media outlets actually have some sort of, sort of inch towards sanity or show moments of lucidity. Like, oh, turns out we shouldn't have the QAnon person that's doing blood libel on the air. Yeah, probably not a good idea. But wait, it could be more of a financial or a business decision than anything else. Because, look, I think the network itself is shook from the defamation lawsuits that are going on. And yes, a lot of them were about election conspiracy theories, but there are other things. I mean, look, if you're going after the so-called elites, right? Powerful people, and they're accusing them of doing heinous things like drinking the blood of babies, then yeah, it looks like there's going to be some, consequences here. I mean, when it came to Sandy Hook, for example, and Alex Jones coming out and saying the worst things about the families of the victims who were murdered in a school shooting. Oh, the crisis actors. Your kids they were never real. It's just all plan to go and take your guns. That's what it is. 1776 it'll rise again. You're not going to take our guns. Cold dead hands. Well, he just paid the price of $1 billion. Not just him. It's also Mike Pillow. He's being sued for conspiracy theories against Dominion voting machines. And all these different lawsuits that are going around. He's not the only one that's named in it. You also have Rudy Giuliani. You've got, different right-wing figures that are facing their own defamation suits from all the insane things the right wing has been allowed to say. And by the way, this isn't a free speech issue. I will concede one thing is that, yes, the possibility of defamation could have maybe a slight chilling effect on speech, like if you criticize people and they bring out a defamation suit. But then again, defamation is a very, very high bar that you have to clear. You have to prove that it's malicious, that you're making up malicious lies in order to harm someone. And so, that said, defamation suits could get very expensive, even if it ends up, with you with them not being able to prove that you're saying these things maliciously. But again, that's not a free speech issue. This doesn't involve the government censoring people. No, this is, private citizens basically saying, you're out there telling people these horrible things about me that just aren't true in order to personally harm me and my reputation. Okay, now I'm going to fight back. And we're seeing that more and more against some of the crazier people on the right. How this applies to Newsmax is, again, I think Newsmax is spooked. I don't think they want to be the focus of another defamation lawsuit. They're thinking, I don't want to get sued for this, especially for somebody like Laura Logan. It's not worth it. And you know what? In that case, you'd be right. It ain't. Okay. Let's go to murals. Speaking of weirdo conspiracies. And just weirdo people who believe them. Parents at a Michigan school district unloaded on a mural that they claimed is filled with LGBTQ propaganda and a depiction of Satan and witchcraft. I'm not kidding. That's the mural. Now, this is a painting which was painted by a student, and it covers a wall inside a teen health center at Grant Middle School in Grant, Michigan. And this sophomore won a competition and was able to create this piece of artwork. There you go. You can see the mural has some Cape characters. You got some, characters with animal heads, smiling students, bright outfits, But then, well, why would they be so mad at that? Well, apparently, you can see someone wearing a shirt that resembles a transgender flag. Oh, no. Oh, no. Another student has a rainbow on. Obvious LGBT propaganda. Look, two other students were dressed in tops with colors of the bisexual flag, pink in the top, royal blue in the bottom, an overlapping purple stripe in the middle. And among the drawings of students, there were other things that parents pointed out, which were satanic, according to them. Let's see. There was a mask in there that some parents have complained is satanic, which really, to me, looks like a Japanese Hanya mask. Let me show you what one of those looks like, by the way. Just an example of it. So that's that Japanese Hanya mask. Okay. Back to this. And a Hamsa hand, or Hamsa hand, which is considered a symbol for the hand of God in many cultures, but in this case, some have claimed it to be a symbol of witchcraft. Witches. Witches.
I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks.
Yeah. So that's what they're flipping out about. In fact, during the school board meeting, some parents claimed the mural, which is in a public school, was promoting anti-Christian messages. One man said during the public comments, quote, "It's discrimination against Christian beliefs. It's Christian, it's anti-Christian." He also qualified it as, quote unquote, hate material. It's hate material. It says stay healthy. No, you don't understand. I'm the victim of a hate crime. That's not what a hate crime is. I hated it. No, again, ridiculous, right? There's no anti-Christian messaging in there. And first of all, or should say second of all, it's a public school. I don't understand. Like, do you want pro-Christian messaging in there? Is that what you wanted? Of course they do. Of course they do. Now, another parent said this, and this is about transgender, right? Quote, when adults pretend things like they are in real life, it's a mental illness. We need counselors. We need medication that's going to help bipolar disorder fix their brains. Bipolar is not transgender. That's not the same thing. I don't. Now, so here's the thing, right? So a teenager drew this, and a teenager had to defend this. Now, the teenager's name is Evelyn Gonzalez, and she was present at the meeting, and she defended her drawing. She said this, quote, I put my artwork up there to make people feel welcomed. Well, the parents did not make her feel welcome. In fact, responding to adults' accusations that she had schemed to include sinister anti-Christian imagery into this, she said, quote, that's not what I'm a part of. That's not what I'm trying to put in there. In fact, she explained the so-called Satanic mask. It's actually a character from a video game called Genshin Impact. That's his face. And again, Japanese mask makes sense because Japanese game. Okay? The painted hand is a Latino symbol of protection. Evelyn Gonzalez. Still, nonetheless, she ended up leaving the meeting as a result of these parents, these grown-ass adults. She left in tears. Great job. Great job. Your weirdo mystical bullshit scared the shit out of a teen. Congratulations. Well done. Raging at a teenager, a child, over your dumb fantasy book. You feel better about yourself? You feel better about yourselves. Come on. I'm disgusted with these people. In fact, there was one woman that responded to her defending her work, saying, quote, I feel like she did a really good job finding excuses to defend things she put on. None of us are that stupid. No, I'm going to disagree with you. You really are that stupid. Again, you're adults. You're acting like, look, the children here are more mature than these so-called adults. I get that through your head. These kids have to be way more mature than the adults who are screaming about their mystical bullcrap, raging about it. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you? Now, that said, yes, there was a lot of criticism. However, there's actually some good feedback. There were people that defended her mural. One student who identifies as a queer person and who said that they've been bullied by the other school children said the mural made them feel included. Quote, and here's what they told the parents. Maybe you should be more concerned with your children's behaviors instead of what art is on the wall. Bam! Excellent. I love that response. Wonderful. 100%. There's another person that it actually sort of unlikely, but I love this response. So this is another parent named Tracy Hargreaves. She stood up for the student. Here's what she said about the parents. Quote, I've never seen more bigoted people in my life. Yes, bigoted weirdos. But what makes Hargreaves special and is because of how she describes herself. She says that she is a conservative, right-wing, gun-loving American. And even she's like, this mural is fine. I don't know what y'all are freaking out about. Y'all are just being weirdo bigots. I love it. I love it. Credit where credit is due. Tracy Hargreaves, hat tip to you. Hats off to you. You're doing the right thing Unlike the other, the idiots here that are thinking that this is some sort of weirdo attack on Christianity. It doesn't make any sense. Now, that said, there is a resolution to this. On October 13th, district officials had announced that after meeting with all parties involved, that the artist would eliminate some of the elements, including the mask and the hand, that deviate from the original design submission that was approved by the administration. So now, what happened is she, drew the mural and then submitted it. It was approved. And then she saw that there was some open space. And so she drew the mask and the hand. So they said, well, you got to get rid of that. You get rid of that, and the rest is fine. All right. So now, look, the important thing is that the things that were meant to foster inclusion in the school, the transgender and bisexual and all that stuff, all that will remain. And so that's good. At Grant Public Schools, according to a district statement, we are committed to promoting civility, respect, understanding, and inclusion. We do not condone and we will not tolerate discrimination, harassment, or bullying, whether in word, deed, or on social media. Again, that school district being far more mature than, a lot of the parents there. So, not necessarily a terrible outcome, but again, you have some of these, so-called Christian parents that need to calm down, turn off Fox News. I can guarantee you nobody's coming after your religion. I don't care what you believe personally. I don't care what religion you believe in. I don't care what you do, as long as you don't hurt anyone else in doing so. Keep your religion in your household, to yourself, doesn't matter. In your church, it's where it belongs. Do you. But, stop being just weirdos who think that you're the victim all the time. I know it's part of some of that that complex that some Christian people feel like they have to have, the persecution complex. But trust me, nobody's coming for your religion. So just calm down. All right, be more like in this case Tracy Hargreaves, and let it go. All right. One more story here. The worst Christians I've met were devout Christians. You know what? I actually have something to say about that, right? The people who are the most, or who actually are the worst, are some of the people who describe themselves as born again. And the reason for that is there is a zealousness, a zealotry that comes along with being freshly born again, anointed, right? Oh, they get to be the most insufferable people, the ones who find religion later in life. And look, again, I can't say definitively it's every one of those people, but at least a lot of the ones that I've met, the worst. All right, anyway. President Joe Biden's student relief program just got an unexpected save from Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Now, on Thursday, Justice Barrett denied a petition by a conservative group seeking to block President Biden's student loan forgiveness program from moving forward. Barrett had rejected the request without giving any explanation. Again, what a surprise. In August, Biden announced the federal government, which holds the vast majority of outstanding student loan debt, would forgive $10,000 in debt for every borrower making less than $125,000 a year, $250,000 for couples. Meanwhile, Pell Grant recipients are eligible for $20,000 in debt forgiveness. So, look, is it a good plan? Yes, it's a good plan. I would still love to see all student loan debt canceled, but I'll take what I can get. I'll take what I can get, at least for now. All right. That said, predictably, right-wingers raged over the program. They raged while a lot of younger people who are dealing with the student loan debt, well, they like it. It's a popular program with the voters. Now, Republicans since that announcement, have filed several lawsuits against it, but have had no success. Why is that? Well, it's because they don't have any standing. I mean, in order to file this injunction and to stop this program, well, you have to demonstrate that this is harming you in some way. So if you're against this, how exactly are you being harmed, actively hurt by this? Now, that says, yes, there are people out there who are salty, people that have already paid back some of their loans. Then again, there are a lot of people who have also already paid back their loans that are like, no, this is great. No, just because I had to suffer and pay them doesn't mean that everyone else should have to go through that as well. And so I see a lot of people, who have paid back their loans and did what they have to do, that are praising this, that are thinking, yes, this is a good thing. Yeah, it would have been nice if, they had done this, when I was still paying back my loans. But you know what? This is great. They're not burdened like I had to be. I know it's something about actually having, the desire to have people get helped, even if you didn't get it. So that said, no standing. Being salty about it, it doesn't qualify as harm. And by the way, the people who didn't go to school, right? There are also people out there that are very salty about this. I didn't go to college. Why are they getting money? Well, they're actually not getting money for themselves. This is a loan that they should never have had to take in the first place. Education should have never been as outrageously expensive as it has been. Again, that's not harm. By the way, in their own petition, this is an emergency petition. Barrett acknowledged as much about standing. They wrote, applicant is aware that prudential notions of standing are an issue here. The applicant is aware of the concern that federal courts should not be transformed into forums for the abstract litigation of questions in which litigants without a concrete stake in the matter press claims that do not discreetly affect them. Courts should not become a forum to do no more than refight legislative battles. So even in their filing, they're like, yeah, well, this doesn't hurt us at all. There's actually no reason that we should even be doing this or filing this. We're just mad. We're just mad that you're actually trying to help people. Well, thanks for being honest about it, at least. Now, the group goes on to claim that it and those similarly situated are being asked to assume the forgiven debt in question. Now, that's not how it works. Debt cancellation is just that. It's gone. It's canceled. It's the cancel cultures. But on the debt. This doesn't get transferred to other people. It gets zeroed out in the books. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. And you know what? The federal government can actually do that. I mean, after all, they have the Federal Reserve that prints money out of thin air because money isn't actually real. We made it up. But that said, that goes into a much more esoteric concept, conversation, whatever. But basically, what I'm arguing is that debt should have never existed in the first place. And by the way, this doesn't actually get rid of all the debt. Only up to $20,000 per borrower. I mean, the average student loans are about $37,000. And there are people with, 6 figures in debt. And people like doctors. So, that said, is it going to help people? Yes. People are going to be able to keep more of their money instead of, having to use much more to service the loans, to service that debt. You might be able to actually go out and buy some things, stimulate the economy. And that's especially important during inflation. And, of course, having a service economy. it's very important for people to be able to save more of their money. So now the real issue, though, is for these groups, these conservative groups, is that they can't stand it when the government actually does something helpful for other people who are not them. And of course, they're actually also correct when they say, well, it's also political, right? It's going to help boost turnout. Yeah, turns out that if you want to win, you got to get people to come out and vote for you. Well, what better way to get people to come out and vote for you than to actually do things for them that actually help their material conditions in their life? What a strange concept. Very strange concept. So, and not only is it, popular policy, it's just the right thing to do. And again, I think that we should cancel all the student debt and make all tuition, colleges and public universities, tuition free, along with trade schools. Those are important too. And so that's actually like the best policy position, because what it is going to do is that, yes, it is a massive initial investment, but it's also an investment. Education is an investment. It creates a workforce that is able to go out and create businesses, create new products, hire people, get people employed, actually help grow the economy. It's investment. And this kind of investment in education, well, look, our country has been very lacking in all of this investment. Now, finally, the last thing here is I'm actually quite surprised that Amy Coney Barrett, of all people, was the one to reject this, just outright, without even an explanation. I mean, does she have student loans? Maybe. Does her husband have student loans? I don't know, possibly. But look, at this point, I don't really know. I don't really care. I'm glad that she rejected this ridiculous argument. And all I have to say, if you've got student loans, you haven't signed up already, the website's up. It literally took me like 3 minutes to fill it out. So go there, sign up as soon as you can, because you never know what the next challenge is going to be, and whether or not it ends up in someone else's hands who will let the challenge go. So get it while you can. That's all I have to say. Okay. Would love to buy a car, actually. Would love road trip. True. Teresa Southern Johnson says that's exactly what the right is against it. It's the right thing to do. True. Very true. I'll read some super chats. Let's see. Gabby Mathis says we voted by mail and received confirmation. It was received. Gabby Mathis, awesome. That's excellent. Dango Bangle says Trump's been subpoenaed by the January 6th committee. I did that story earlier. I think that you were not here at the time. But yes, I did do that. He got caught lying under oath by the special master. Georgia Call, I swear this has got to be a Mr. Burns episode. I don't know. To be fair, the Genshin Impact, like all video games and anime communities, is a major issue of incels preying on minors. Yeah, look, again, that's because they target younger people. And that's a very good medium, unfortunately, to be able to target those people. So you're right about that. Also says that they're not Christians, that they're Christian nationalists. Jonathan Leiter says, these Mural nuts remind me of the Teletubbies nuts. Indeed. Madi Darno says, thanks, great show. Thanks, nice weekend, y'all. Yes, thank you, Madi. Really, really appreciate you modding for the community. You have a nice weekend as well. Thank you. Christian nationalists? You mean Nazis? Yeah. Oh, Nazis. I get it. It's the same. It's pretty much the same thing. You know that. I know that. It's the same thing. All right. The Teletubbies hysteria. Oh, geez. Is there anything that you know, like these weirdo people won't try to go cancel culture on, like cartoons and stuff. Matt Walsh is like, oh, did you anime satanic? What evidence do you have? I don't have any evidence that it's satanic, but I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, God. It's frustrating. All right. What else do we have here? Let's see. Land the Cleaver 602. Thank you for resubbing for with Prime 2 months. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. All right. So, look, that's it. That's all I've got for y'all today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. Have an excellent, excellent weekend. Don't worry, we will raid over here on Twitch. Let's see. Let's raid in. We'll just do a raid into E. See what's going on in there. As far as everybody else, again, thank you all. Really, really appreciate you coming. Watch the videos if you've missed any part of the show. It's going to go up later today. And then, like I said, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Same time, same place. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody.
We have to keep our country gay. People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times. Bullshit.
Up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who.
We will keep kicking your ass every single day.
Amazing.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Bitch, move it along.